You are listening to This Week in Taiwan. I'm Eloise Phillips. Every Saturday, we break down the biggest stories making headlines across the country, from politics and economics to culture and the unexpected. Whether you're tuning in from Taipei or halfway around the world, we've got you covered with what you need to know to stay in the loop.
A senior national security official said Taiwan will not become a bargaining chip in U.S. China negotiations following the Thursday, May 14th meeting between President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping. While China is expected to raise Taiwan in such talks, the official said that the U.S. has repeatedly affirmed its commitment to peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait. The official emphasized that Taiwan holds a key strategic position and shares mutual interests with the United States and regional partners. As a result, Washington would not trade away a core interest or negotiate Taiwan's future with Beijing. Taiwan should not view itself as being on the chopping block or subject to transactional bargaining, the official said. According to Chinese state media, she described Taiwan as the most important issue in U.S. China relations, warning that mishandling it could lead to serious risks. The White House summary of the meeting did not mention Taiwan. However, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio later said Washington's policy remains unchanged, noting that China routinely raises the issue and the U.S. responds consistently before moving on. The official said the U.S. goal in the talks is to manage geopolitical risks and prevent conflict, especially in the Indo-Pacific region. Taiwan will continue close coordination with the United States and deepen ties with other partners to safeguard its democratic system and regional stability.
As the war involving Iran enters its third month, military analysts say the conflict is becoming a real-world case study for both Beijing and Washington, offering new insight into how a future U.S. China conflict could unfold. According to a CNN report, Chinese military observers are closely examining how U.S. forces perform under sustained combat conditions, especially the strengths and weaknesses of American missile defense systems. Former Chinese Air Force Colonel Fu Qianshao said one major lesson for the PLA is the need to strengthen its own defensive capabilities. Iran has repeatedly used low-cost drones and ballistic missiles to challenge U.S.-supplied Patriot and THAAD missiles defense systems in the Middle East, raising concerns about whether even advanced air defense networks can withstand prolonged saturation attacks. Experts say China is also studying the U.S. military's combination of high-end and low-cost warfare tactics. While deploying advanced weapon platforms such as the Lockheed Martin F-35 Lightning II and Northrop Grumman B-2 Spirit, the United States has also relied heavily on guided bombs and unmanned systems to strike missile sites and infrastructure. Taiwanese defense analysts warn China could apply similar tactics in a future Taiwan Strait conflict, combining missiles, rockets, and large drone swarms in saturation attacks. At the same time, the United States is rethinking its own strategy. Commander of U.S. Indo-Pacific Command Samuel Papero recently said drone warfare has significantly increased the cost of offensive operations. Analysts say Washington's proposed Drone Sea strategy, deploying large numbers of unmanned systems across the Taiwan Strait, is likely already being closely watched by Beijing. They also note that while China's military has modernized rapidly, the PLA still lacks large-scale combat experience compared to many U.S. commanders shaped by decades of war in the Middle East. Joey Cho for RTI News.
The DPP says President Lai Ching-te's most recent approval ratings, released Monday, show that both overall approval and personal trust in President Lai are above 50%. The positive trend also seems to be reflected in policy aimed at reducing public burden, among several other DPP policy areas. The poll results come on the eve of Lai's second anniversary in office, as opposition lawmakers move forward with impeachment procedures against the president. DPP spokesperson Wu Ceng said the results display a high degree of consensus between the public and ruling party on issues surrounding Taiwanese sovereignty, expanding diplomatic spaces, and safeguarding Taiwan's democracy. He cited numbers such as the satisfaction over safeguarding national sovereignty and defense affairs, which each polled at nearly 60% and 55% approval, respectively. DPP Policy Committee Chair Rosalia Wu focused on how 74% of respondents approved of government performance revolving around reducing the public's economic burden. She said the fact that so many policy points, including social welfare policies, price stabilizing, and feelings on economic growth, polled at above 50% approval, is proof that the party is on the right track. Wu criticized the opposition party's impeachment proceedings, saying that the opposition remains too focused on infighting and cooperating with hostile powers. These measures, she said, will not gain public support, announcing the DPP's plan to use the polling results as positive proof against the impeachment proceedings in the legislature. The Coast Guard Administration, or CGA, recently worked with United States Homeland Security Investigations, or HSI, to crack 14 cross-border airport drug trafficking cases in Taiwan. Ocean Affairs Council Minister Guan Biling said the operation exemplifies Taiwan-U.S. joint crime-fighting efforts and the achievements of bilateral enforcement cooperation. According to the CGA's investigation branch, it has been working closely with HSI since October 2025. Authorities have arrested 22 suspects and seized 23.3 kilograms of heroin, with an estimated street value exceeding 81 million NT dollars, or 2.5 million US dollars. Speaking at a press conference this Tuesday, Guan emphasized that the recent investigations were extremely difficult and would not have achieved such significant results without international intelligence cooperation. She expressed her gratitude and said the Coast Guard remains firmly committed to intercepting drugs before they enter Taiwan, deepening international cooperation, and cracking down on crime. HSI Taipei attaché Brian Schroeder explained that HSI had obtained intelligence about high-risk travelers entering Taiwan and alerted the CGA. Together, they exposed an international criminal network involving foreign nationals from the U.S., Thailand, and European countries. President Lai Ching-te marked the second anniversary of his inauguration on Wednesday with a press conference alongside Vice President Xiaobi Kim and Secretary General to the President Pan Meng-an. Themed 30 years of direct presidential elections boldly pursuing the future, his address traced Taiwan's democratic journey back to its first direct presidential election in 1986, urging citizens to unite in safeguarding democracy for the next generation. Lai outlined three core policy priorities: protecting Taiwan's democratic and free way of life, maintaining cross-strait peace and stability, and developing a more resilient and competitive economy. He acknowledged 2 turbulent years marked by authoritarian expansions globally, supply chain restructuring, and unprecedented legislative deadlock that stalled key personal appointments, budgets, and bills, yet insisted Taiwan has not retreated. On cross-strait relations, Lai firmly rejected Beijing's overtures, stating Taiwan is willing to engage China on equal and dignified terms, but will not accept being diminished.
Over 30 years of direct presidential elections, Taiwan's people have time and again proven through their votes that we cherish peace but will not abandon freedom. We are willing to dialogue but will not accept being belittled. We pursue stability but will not sacrifice sovereignty or our democratic way of life. This is Taiwan's bottom line and its clearest position to the world.
In another interview, the president also dismissed calls from the KMT to continue cross-strait exchanges under the framework of the 1992 consensus, saying Beijing's interpretation of it amounts to a one China principle formula for Taiwan. He said,
"The so-called 1992 consensus within China's national policy is the one China principle, with Taiwan's arrangement being one country, two systems. This not only abandons national sovereignty, but also sacrifices Taiwan's democratic and free way of life, and will not be accepted by the Taiwanese people."
U.S. President Donald Trump said he would speak to Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te, but did not specify when. That came in an answer to a reporter's question at the Joint Base Andrews in Maryland on Wednesday, May 20th. Trump was asked if he had plans to speak to Lai before making his decision on allowing arms sales to Taiwan. He answered he would, quote, speak to everybody, end quote. Trump said that he had the situation in hand and that he had a great meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping. He said he would jointly work on the Taiwan problem. Following the Trump-Xi summit earlier in May, Trump said he would make a decision on the latest $14 billion arms package for Taiwan in the near future, but did not specify a time frame. According to Reuters, a conversation between Trump and Lai would be the first direct dialogue between a U.S. and Taiwanese president since the United States established diplomatic relations with China in 1979. President Lai Ching-te met with Canadian Parliament member and Shadow Foreign Minister Michael Tong on Wednesday, May 20th. Lai thanked the Canadian Parliament for its long-standing support of Taiwan's international participation and said he hoped for further deepening of Taiwan-Canada cooperation in resisting authoritarian expansion. Lai expressed respect for Chong's steadfast commitment to defending democracy and human rights. Chong was sanctioned by the Chinese government in 2021 after he had introduced a motion condemning the Chinese government's genocide against its Uyghur population. Lai also thanked Chong for his support of Taiwan, which has resulted in closer Taiwan-Canada relations in the past 3 years. He highlighted the Canadian Parliament unanimously passing a motion supporting Taiwan's international participation and countering China's misinterpretation of UN General Assembly Resolution 2758. Tong said that Taiwan enjoys bipartisan support in Canada and that the goal of his visit was to demonstrate united support for Taiwan to defend Canada's sovereignty. He said the Chinese ambassador to Canada recently warned Canadian members of parliament against traveling to Taiwan. Tong said his presence in Taipei is a clear signal that Canadian MPs do not take directions from foreign governments regarding their international visits. And that's it for This Week in Taiwan. I'm Amanda Stevens, filling in for Eloise Phillips. If you want to know more about what's going on in Taiwan, visit our website at rti.org/en. Until next time.